Police say David Mark Ratcliffe was arrested Tuesday in connection to a bank robbery in Clearwater. Ratcliffe, the so-called I-4 Bandit, was convicted of robbing 6 banks in Clearwater, Tampa, and Orlando in the late 90s. He was suspected of committing several others along the Interstate 4 corridor. A serial bank robber that the police nicknamed the I-4 Bandit was arrested Tuesday after robbing a bank in Clearwater, according to police. The robbery of a Wells Fargo branch at 639 South Fort Harrison Ave was reported at 10:44 a.m. Police said the suspect lost his patience with the teller and climbed over the counter to help himself to money. A few minutes later, a Clearwater detective saw the Dodge at a gas station on Clearwater Largo Road. And when the detective tried to conduct a traffic stop at West Bay Drive, the driver fled. The Clearwater Police Department said in a news release. A helicopter from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office tracked the Dodge as the suspect drove into Bel Air Beach, abandoned the vehicle, and tried to steal a truck on Harbor Drive, police said. The owner of the truck and the suspect fought, and the suspect ran off, according to the release. A short time later, and just 26 minutes after the robbery was reported, the suspect was caught by a canine from the sheriff's office, police said. The suspect, identified as David Mark Ratcliffe, 55, was taken to Morton Plant Hospital. He was treated, then taken to the Pinellas County Jail to be booked. Ratcliffe, the so-called I-4 Bandit, was convicted of robbing 6 banks in Clearwater, Tampa, and Orlando in the late 90s. He was suspected of committing up to 13 other robberies that happened along the Interstate 4 corridor. Ratcliffe was released from federal custody in June after serving most of a 25-year prison sentence, according to the Federal Bureau of Prison Records. Police say he is also suspected of committing bank robberies in Temple Terrace and St. Petersburg earlier this month. Ratcliffe faces multiple charges, including armed robbery, fleeing and eluding, offense against a police canine, and carjacking without a weapon. David Ratcliffe will likely die in prison. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, definitely share the video, and don't forget, leave a comment. Just want to thank everybody first before we get into this for the over 1 million views. You know, the subscribers are moving up, but it's not just because of me, it's because of you too. We're working together, we're growing the channel, we got a common goal, a common mission. And I hope that it works. I hope that it helps people. You know, sometimes in the comments people write, say, man, I've been to prison and I need these videos so I never go back. And those comments are important. But unfortunately, sometimes these videos don't always help every single person. You just heard me read about the I-4 Bandit, Dave. Some of you might remember the interview that I did with the I-4 Bandit about 4 or 5 months ago. This brother just served 25 years in federal prison for armed bank robbery. Got out, and he couldn't handle the world. Unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people. Some people can't understand what it's like. I know you all watch prison content shows and things like that, and you're interested in this thing with prison and all of this stuff, but until you put on the shoes, you can't dance the dance. Until you put on the shoes, you can't walk the walk. And a lot of people say, man, how did that dude go back after all that time? What the hell is the matter with that guy? Because I said the same thing. What the hell is the matter with Dave? What was Dave thinking? Dave just wants to do life on an installment plan. 2-3 years here, 4 or 5 years there. 25 years here. 10 there. And before he knows it, his life's over. Forever gone. Spent behind that razor wire. But let me tell you a little bit about Dave after the interview. Dave had called me a few times. Actually, a lot of times. And we had talked. And I had to remind him and tell him, Dave, listen to me, man. Your best day in prison can't even come close to your worst day out here. He said, yeah, well, you know, sometimes I don't feel that way, Chad. Sometimes I just want to go back. And Dave was hurting. Dave was hurting over this girl, right? Over the girl that was the love of his life. He's seen the love of his life when he got out of prison. I think they stopped. They talked to each other. And he had talked to me. He said, Chad, I see you're back with your ex-wife, man. That's amazing. You know, you guys got remarried. You're having kids. He's like, dude, man, I'm hurt inside, man. I'm hurt in my heart. And I said, Dave, man, some things ain't always meant to be, bro. Sometimes you got to let that stuff go, man. Sometimes you got to go create a new family. He felt like he didn't have nothing. I said, you got to be the creator. You're in the driver's seat, Dave. You got to push forward. And sometimes he'd tell me, man, I just want to go back. And I guess he made that decision. He just wanted to go back. He jumps over the counter, robs the bank, robs a couple other banks. He knew in that moment that he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison probably when he walked in that bank. But that was the choice that he made. And you know, like I say, some people don't want to be here. And we're going to talk about a couple cases today. People that don't want to be here. People that in all respects are institutionalized. Some people are so institutionalized that they can't make it. They just can't make it. You know, the human mind is a crazy thing. There's plenty of days that I'm out here and I feel like, man, sucks, right? But I can't never forget. I can't never forget what the food was like in the chow hall. I can't never forget what it's like to see people stabbed in prison. I can't forget what it's like to wake up on Christmas morning and wait in a line to call my mother to wish her a Merry Christmas. I can't forget what it's like to have people make visits and not show up. They couldn't make it. They start to forget about you. And that's why I say, my worst day out here is way better than my best day in prison. And you know, I sometimes think, and I say this a lot about Shawshank Redemption, I sometimes think about Brooks. Remember that movie? Remember Brooks? Remember when he got out after all that time? He just couldn't make it. He took his own life, right? Yeah, it was a movie, but there's so much reality in movies. Sometimes movies tell the truth. He says, I don't like it here. I'm tired of being afraid all the time. I've decided not to stay. Tired of being afraid. When you've been in a maximum security prison all your life, 24, 25 years, you're locked in a cell every night, you're in this concrete bunker, you're safe. Believe it or not, when you're in that cell, even if you got a cellie, it's just you and your cellie, 99% of the time you feel safe, but you feel safe because the police just locked you in. When you're out here in the free world, you hear things at night. You jump, you get nervous. Sometimes you can't cross the street. Sometimes people come out to a world that they don't know after being in there so long. Brooks said, I saw an automobile once when I was a kid, but now they're everywhere. That's what it's like for a guy walking out of prison 25 years later. You see people on cell phones, walking down the street, not paying attention to what's going on. You walk out to a world where there's cameras on telephone poles. You walk out to a world where you have to go in Walmart and you can cash yourself out. You walk out to a world where the violence has escalated. And we're going to talk about that in a minute too. Brooks said the world went and got itself in a big damn hurry. In a big damn hurry. Dear fellas, I can't believe how fast things move on the outside. It's hard work and I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time. Sometimes after work, I go to the park and feed the birds. Ain't that something? Sometimes you just go to the park and feed the birds. Sometimes people have to find a way to cope out here. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they don't. And kind of like Brooks, after 18 years, nearly 18 years of my life in prison, I find solace. I find peace with animals. Ain't that crazy? I got to go find peace with animals. And unfortunately for Dave, he couldn't go find that peace. He couldn't go find peace with the animals. He couldn't find peace in the world. And he decided to rob a bank. In fact, while he was robbing the bank, or when he was getting arrested, canine dog bit him. He bit the dog back. Think about that. His cat bit the dog back. Ain't that crazy? So that's Dave, man. Dave's on his way back to prison. Probably be charged federally if he hasn't been already. And he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Pretty much. He might get out in 25 more years. But then he'll be just like Brooks. Then he really won't want to get out. He gave up. That's what this video is about, kind of. Not giving up, man. Keep pushing. You might also remember the story of Lonnie Nichols, the video I did, Kill or Be Killed. Oh, Lonnie. Lonnie had a life sentence. called me, asked me to help him with his case, told me he didn't believe he'd ever get out. But you know what? I got Lonnie Nichols out of jail. In less than a year, both of these cats are from Florida too. Less than a year, Lonnie Nichols is back in prison. He's just got a violation, caught like some little bullshit. But he's back in prison, man. Was it because he didn't appreciate his freedom? I don't know. I don't know if it's because he didn't appreciate his freedom. I don't know what it is. Was the world too hard? When you got a life sentence, you got to think, wow, man, I made it out. And you have to be an example for the people that are left behind. You have to get out of prison and do the right thing. Because there's plenty of other people behind you that want to get out of jail that can't. They don't want to do criminal justice reform because so many people get out and fail. You got to keep pushing forward. You got to be like Coach George, man. Remember that interview? You got to come out here and push forward. You got to come out here and find a purpose. You got to come out here and push forward and let nothing get in your way. You got to always think about what it's like, man. Think about what that burger day is like. Think about the small things, man. What it's like to take a shower for 25 years. You were never able to sit in a bathtub and just relax. Small things, man. Small things matter. So Lonnie Nichols, he's got that little violation. He'll be getting out again. And I hope that this dude becomes the example. I hope that this dude sees, hey, man, I jumped back into that old world with old friends and look where it got me. See, he didn't get punched in the face. He got slapped. And what I say by slapped, I mean, they just gave him a violation. He didn't end up like David and get knocked out. So here's your wake-up call, Lonnie Nichols. Get your life together, man. Nothing worth losing your freedom over. And now I want to talk about this kid. I want to talk about this kid because he's all over the news in my city about prison reform, why they should not do criminal justice reform in New York State, why it's hurting people, why it should just be thrown in the garbage. And this dude right here, be honest with you, I dislike him. And there's a lot of reasons why I dislike him. Many, many reasons. He's out here just killing people. Killing people like it's okay, like it's going out of style. I dislike this dude because there's so many people sitting in prison cells that want to get out that can't. So many people that deserve a second chance. So many people that deserve the second chance that this kid got. And he just squandered it. He threw it in the garbage. Like I say, very seldom do I say that people deserve to be in prison. But this kid right here, to me, is a psychopath. John Gordon admitted to shooting and killing Raynard Small on Post Avenue in 2015 while on parole for criminal possession of a weapon. He was 20 years old, already on parole, kills another dude. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison in 2017 and was paroled in May 2021. 7 years in prison. Boy, he got out of jail pretty early, huh? Right? Let me see. 15. Oh, because he had the 2 years in already. So he gets out of prison. And what does he do next? In September, police say Gordon opened fire in an alleyway on Driving Park Avenue in September. He's on parole now for that murder. Was on parole for that gun charge when he killed the other dude. 4 people were shot and 2 of them, Jimmy Jones and Sharif Clark, died. Gates Police Chief James Van Berndendood says he is concerned that more criminal justice reform will lead to more repeat offenders like Gordon. So he's saying, hey, all them dudes in there that are sitting in prison, don't let them out. Because we already see what they'll do. They'll do things just like James Gordon here did. Don't let these cats in the street. Stop all this criminal justice reform. It's all nonsense. How is he out at 2:30 in the morning on the streets of Rochester with an illegal gun? How does this happen? Why was there no system in place to catch that? Said Van Berndendood. There's got to be a system in place for somebody who has a history of being bad and dangerous versus somebody who is nonviolent criminal, somebody we can rehabilitate. Van Berndendood is the president of the Monroe County Association Chiefs of Police. I don't really want to talk about this cat. I really want to talk about the dude that's in the street. I want to talk about this kid who's out here shooting people, right? Old James. Gets out of prison for a gun. He's 20 years old. He shoots and kills this kid. Whatever beef they had, he shoots him, he kills him. He ends up with 7 years. He goes to prison, New York State prison. It doesn't faze him, man. You got a second chance at life, bro. You got a murder charge and got 7 years. And the kid that he killed was 22 years old. He was 20. You got a second chance at life, and you got a taste. You got slapped. They slapped you in the face and said, here, this is what prison is like. This is what your life will be like. But you got a second chance, man. And here it is. We're going to let you out on the street. You do 7 years. You're out on the street, May 2021. And by the end of November, within 6 months, your life is gone. They're about to smoke his ass this time. I promise you that. They're about to smoke him. He kills these kids in September. They do an investigation. I'm sure people came forward like, hey, man, this is the dude. You know, if I got out of prison and I was James, I probably would have tried to move away. I would not try. I would have moved away. I would have found a way to get away from the city. I would have got away from the old neighborhood, the old friends. The last thing in the world I would have done was went and bought a gun. The last thing I would have done was went to an after hours get-together party where he was at, where he ended up shooting these cats. Think he's going to regret this? He's 27 years old. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. The best years of his life, he already lost. He lost them on his first bid. For that possession of a weapon. What was he, 18 back then? Catches the murder charge at 20 right after he gets out of prison. Does the 7 years, comes home, catches 2 more murder charges and shoots 2 other people. Definitely done. They're going to roast this kid. His life is gone. But you know, it's important to highlight John or James, whatever the hell his name is, John Gordon. It's important to highlight John's life. Because you might be a young man watching this right now. You might have just got out of prison. And you're like, damn, man, I ain't got shit. I gotta hustle. And when you start to hustle, what comes with hustling? You got to protect yourself, right? That's when you go out and you get that gun, man. And what does a gun do for you? Yeah, it protects you. But you ever feel like when you had a gun, like you had more power? Like you were powerful now? Like you would go places at night that you wouldn't usually go to? Because you had that. You had that tucked in your waist. You were ready. You had the almighty protector. You had one up on most people. Or at least even the odds, right? Forget that street life, man. Forget that street life. Put it behind you. Because if not, you might end up on the news just like John. You might end up back in prison within 6 months for the rest of your life. Like that brother said yesterday. What did he say on that interview? When you play dumb games, you get dumb prizes. When you go big, you get big. And what I mean by that, killing somebody is a much bigger crime than being out here selling dope, right? You get big time. Spend the rest of your life in there. And for those of you brothers that just got out of prison, or you've been out 4 or 5 months or 6 months, you've been out like Lonnie, you've been out like Dave, please, man, remember. If you've been to federal prison, remember what that burger day is like. Remember what it used to be like when it was all right? When you looked forward to going to chow on a Wednesday? And now, on burger day, you don't even go because it's so nasty and disgusting. It's the small things that might make you think. Think about that chicken, man, that they give you every holiday almost. Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, and it's always raw. Can't even eat the shit. Or the raw Cornish hens on Christmas. Think about what it's like to be locked in that cell. Think about what it's like when something pops off on a compound and now you're locked in. The first 3-4 days, you're all right. You're relaxing, you're reading books, and then you start pacing back and forth. And I was in Raybrook with a bunch of young dudes, and we'd get locked down. Them dudes, it would kill them inside. Being locked in a cell would kill these young dudes, man. They'd start kicking the doors, yelling, screaming. I'd be like, what the hell's the matter with these dudes? And I had to think about it. Really, mentally and emotionally, they're just kids. It's like when your mom would punish you and make you go stand in the corner or sit on the floor in your room. Now the big boys lock you in a cell. You're punished. And they can't handle it, man. Think about those things. Think about what it's like to finally come out and get in the shower. Or think about what it's like when they unlock the cells and they give you an hour. You got an hour to shower, use the phone, use the computer. And people are running and they're jumping over the railing in Raybrook. Get to the computer. Get to the phone line. And sometimes, man, the line's so long, you're waiting, and then you hear, lock in. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes left. And there's 6 people in front of you. Can't even call your mother. Can't even call your wife. Can't call your son. And you're locked down for the holidays. This was your Thanksgiving call you couldn't get through. Think about those things, man. Think about what it's like when the judge says, I hereby sentence you to 120 months. And you're like, remember what that felt like in your heart? I hereby sentence you to 40 years in prison, 480 months to be served in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Remember what that heart felt like? Felt like you got punched, right? Maybe it felt like John Gordon just shot you in the chest. And then you get out here and you got to weigh your options, man. Think about that day he sentenced you. And think about how hard your day is today when you're out looking for a job. This shit sucks, man. I can't even get a job, man. Which one was worse? I think getting sentenced to 480 months or 120 months or 240 months, it's a lot harder than not being able to find a job today. Tomorrow, man. Tomorrow's another day. Live to fight another day. When you go to prison, your fight is over with, man. I hope you enjoyed the video, man. But more than anything, I hope that the video made you think today. I hope that the video motivated you to do the right thing. I hope the video motivated you not to be John, not to be David, not to be Lonnie. Hope it motivated you today to be the best person you can be, man. With respect, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.